Okay, hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about Hololive new start decks for set 3, specifically for Hajime, Iroha, and Flare. Right, so they've just announced their ratios. As you can see, all the cards are listed. And we're just gonna quickly go through all of the skills of the cards, give you my thoughts, how good it is, and which start deck you guys should pick. Right, so we can start with Hajime's deck. So she has a 100 HP debut, which is normal. This is pretty standard for all debuts. 100 HP does 30 damage. Pretty good for a start deck vanilla. Second debut, which is the collab debut, simply gives when you collab, you give a Regloss member in your center plus 10 arts. This card is a nerfed version of Kanata and Sora's collab debut, because Kanata gives 30 if it's a Gen 4 and Sora just gives 20. So I think they learned their lesson. So they just gave it 10. So it's a little bit weak, but they probably had to. They probably don't want another Kanata. It does hit for 30, which is pretty normal. Other than that, I don't think this card will see play. Next, we have a new debut, which is surprising because usually cards only have their normal debut and a collab debut. And for this card specifically, it's 120 HP, but has a 2 energy cost attack that does 40. So the play is to not use this card to attack, and it's mostly there to make sure your debut doesn't die, so you can bloom up to first. Yeah, it's alright. It's better than the collab debut, so you'll probably see some play of that. Next is her first vanilla. It's 140 HP, 40 arts for 1 energy, 1 cheer, and 2 cheers. It does 60 with a better pass of 1. This is pretty standard. I'd say, sorry, it's below average actually. It's usually a good first vanilla has 160 HP, that does 40-60. I'm referring to cards like Marine first, Zeta first, and I believe there's one more, but I can't think of it right now. So good damage, but the HP is a bit lower than usual, so it's not as good, but still a good vanilla in general. And next is a different first. It has 1 cheer for 30 and 2 cheers for 50. Plus the effect is when there are 3 different members with Regloss card names on your stage, arts plus 20. So this is basically 2 cheer for 70, which is a good number to hit on a first. Unfortunately, it has the downside of 100 HP, which is really squishy, and most of the time it's not worth it. There is a similar card, which is Fubuki, but she has a way better effect, and she doesn't really have 100 HP because of her mascots giving her 20 more HP, so you don't really feel that 100 HP as much. So it is a good offense, but this card's most likely gonna die, and it's not really energy efficient. Next is her first idol, which is a simple skill of when you bloom, you draw 1. It's okay. It's the same as Sora's card. Same as Sora's first. Sora, I think, has the same stats, if I'm not wrong. 120 HP is good, but it only hits for 20, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it only hits for 20. So it's alright. It's good enough for the deck. Next we have her Buzz, which is 230 HP, 2 cheers. With the skill, when she attacks, it has a base damage of 50. During this turn, one of your debut holomems with Regloss on your stage gets plus 40. So what this basically means is they want you to attack with this, alongside with a debut you probably collabed at the side for that collab to do 40 more damage. Overall, I think this is a very, very niche card because sending a debut to attack and that's not like turn 1, turn 2 is kinda bad. And considering she herself needs 2 cheers, it's not really that much damage for a buzz. It is very normal for start deck buzzes to do 50. Choco's buzz does do, let me check, only 40 for 2 cheers. So it's okay. Like, it's okay for the deck, but it's not good enough. I would say it's a niche card. And then of course we have her second with the 180 HP and the bloom effect. Whenever you bloom her, you reveal 1 debut offers with regloss from your deck and add it to your hand. So this means you can search for the Buzz Hajime, and you can search for any debut with regloss. You can search all the members of regloss. You can search Raden, Ririka, Ao, Kanade, and add it to your hand, so you can find everyone basically. And then her second skill is on attack with a base damage of 80, 3 energy, 2 white, 1 colorless. When there is a Holomem with regloss other than Hajime on your stage, it gets plus 30 arts, so it's just gonna hit for 110. It has plus 50 against purple, so it's not that much. Like, even against purple, it's only gonna do 160, which doesn't KO purple seconds. So this card is not a great attacker, but we kind of expected this with start decks, considering they're not meant to be strong, they're meant to get people into the game. So unfortunately, Hajime will be weak on the attack department. We might see her as a side supporting card, just because she can find any debut and first buzz. This includes Kanade buzz and Owl buzz that we know are coming. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Hajime goes. Then we can quickly go over the debuts of other regloss members. There's Owl, which hold on, no, there's Raden first. Simply on attack, 1 colorless, 20 damage. She takes 1 cheer from your archive and send it to any one of your regloss holomems. Decent card, but requires you to take 1 cheer from your archive, and currently this deck has no way to archive your cheer, so you're not gonna get this effect turn 1 or even turn 2 maybe. Like, it requires a debut in front, so it's like, it's good with the Buzz Hajime if you do need one, but this is very likely gonna die. Ririka, on the other hand, is very, very strong. She has a effect where collab effect where you basically draw 1 card, because the restriction is basically if you have 5 or less cards in hand, and if you have a regloss center, you can draw 1. So that is very, very strong, because turn 1, you're gonna have 7 cards in hand, you're gonna draw 1, you're gonna have 8 cards in hand, you're gonna have at least, on average, 2 to 3 debuts, so which means you're already around 5 to 6 cards in hand from the start. So the 5 or less effect is really, really manageable. Like, it's not gonna be a problem. Owl has a very bad effect. Not only does she have 10 HP less than Ririka, her collab skill is simply, on collab, deal 10 special damage to one of your opponent's center or back holomems. Collab to deal 10 is not the greatest. Like, we've seen Ayami collab debut, it is run, but it has the benefit of being bloomed into, and it's not even like a major effect, you just run it because you can. So this card isn't that great. You get to shoot the back to trigger some skills like Suisei, Oshi, but other than that, it's not that great. And then lastly, we have Kanade's debut, collab debut. Quite a decent effect, where you, on collab, you may move 1 cheer from your stage to another holo member other than this card, and that is very useful in some cases where you need to color fix your cheers. as well as make use of, let's say you collect a card with energy, with cheers, and then the next turn you want to reuse that cheer. Kanade is good at helping fix some cheer management. So, and she has 90 HP, which is quite decent. Overall, all the debuts are fine. Owl's the weakest, Ririka's the best because you just get a free draw. Raden has some niche, and Kanade is the second best, I would say. And now we can go over Hajime's Oshi skill, or Oshi in general. So her Oshi is plus for 2 holo power once per turn. Give one of your center white holomems plus 20 arts. It's not a great effect, to say the least. It's quite bad actually, but oh well, it's a start deck. And then her second skill, once per turn, once per game for only 1 holo power. When your Regloss member is about to get attacked, you get to take 30 less damage for that turn, which is sorry, not for that turn, for that attack. So it's basically Mumi Oshi skill, where you take less damage, but it is once per game and it will only reduce by 30, so it's not that great. It's kinda rough, but oh well, there's always the option of not using the Oshi. Alright, it's not even oh my bad, it's not even minus 30, it's minus 20 only. Right. And it's only white holomem, and it's not even regloss. Yeah, so only Hajime basically will take 20 less damage. So it's a very, very bad Oshi. But oh well, we can there are solutions. But it's just that you can't this not running Hajime Oshi is not ideal at all. And then lastly, I think that's the last card. We have a mascot, which basically gives her plus 10 arts to any holomem, and then if it's attached on Hajime, gets plus 20 HP, which is just a nerf Tatang. If you all know what Tatang does, it's plus 10, and if it's on Reine, plus 30 HP. They just give it to Hajime so that her second now has 200 HP, hits for 120. Nothing too special. They don't want to make a second Tatang, so it's there. It's probably gonna be run because it's still good. It's still a good effect. But I don't think Regloss really has space for it either. Yeah, so that's all. And I guess the last card is the Regloss top 4 searcher. Top 4 draw, yeah. Where you look at top 4 for Regloss and add any Regloss members to your hand and board deck the rest. So overall, Hajime probably not that great. Overall, it's not looking too great. Like Ririka's the most interesting card to me, and Hajime's buzz is too niche. Second Hajime is too weak. Yeah, so we'll give our verdict later. Now we move on to Iroha. A familiar face for most people because they've seen her she's in set 1, and for some reason they decided to bring her back. So we can look at her new support. So starting with Oshi. For 2 holo power, it's a standard start deck Oshi for once per turn. During your turn, your green center holomem plus 20 arts. And then her once per game is heal 20 HP from all green holomems. So exactly the same as Pecora's cheer set Oshi. So it's not great. It's definitely not gonna be optimal at all. And then surprisingly, they decided to reprint Iroha's vanilla debut, but with a new art. So there's actually reason to go for the Iroha throught deck if you already have Iroha, even though you already have Iroha debuts. Yeah, so it's a new art for her debut and her bodyguard idol first. As you can see, it's the same effect, but it's completely different original art. Yeah. And then we can start off with a new collab debut. Simply 80 HP, hits for 20. heal 10 on collab. Heal 10 to any Holomem. Very basic, not game changing, but it is a free heal and it's not that squishy. And if you can bloom it, then why not? Then we have Iroha's third debut, which is 80 HP and has the skill where if your center Holomem is damaged, which could include herself, she gets plus 10 arts. She hits for 30 base, so that hits for 40 for 1 green energy, which is fine, except if you're going second, you won't have a damaged Holomem. And if you're going first, you will have a damaged center Holomem, but you might not want to spend your energy on this Iroha, considering you have to put a debut instead of a first just to get this effect. So it's overall not that great. She got a new vanilla, where her previous vanilla was 180 HP. This first vanilla is 160 HP and simply has two cheer, 1 green, 1 colorless for 60 arts. Overall, not bad. It's a more offensive first vanilla. If I'm not wrong, I think it hits harder. Let me check real quick. First Iroha's vanilla was 180 HP and hits for 50. So yeah, it does hit a bit harder, but is a bit squishier. I think we might see play because this Iroha, if you're playing this on turn 2 and you bloom into her, she will just do 10 more damage. And it's very unlikely your opponent will be able to KO this on their second turn. So yeah, overall decent vanilla. Then she got a new first bloom effect. For 120 HP, hits 1 green cheer for 30. The bloom effect of sending the top card of your cheer deck to a Holomem with Holo X. This is very good for Iroha specifically. The issue is that Chloe exists, and Chloe first is way better than this because Chloe first isn't locked to Holo X, and Chloe first still looks at top 3 instead of top card for this Iroha. But overall, I guess if you're playing a mono Iroha, then this card is good because Iroha has lacked RAM for a while. Because her bodyguard, her idol couldn't RAM herself. It was only RAM to another Holo X. Yeah. So Iroha finally has RAM for herself, which is good. And then now Iroha got a new buzz, which means she possibly might get a total of 3 buzzes by set 3, which is crazy to think about, but oh well. Bloom effect, reveal one of her swords, which is a tool, this one, and or her mascot from your deck and add it to your hand. 220 HP buzz for 2 cheers, hits for 50. Not really a good attacker, but it's a buzz with a bloom effect. And I might as well explain what the sword and mascot does. So her sword does plus 10 arts for whoever it's attached to, and if it's attached to Iroha, that's first bloom or higher, once per turn. If Iroha takes damage from one of your opponent's cards, or basically whenever Iroha takes damage and has this sword, your opponent's center will take 20 damage, but they will not lose life if they are taken out by that effect. So if someone swings you with a 20 HP center, that center will not lose a life. And then her mascot, exactly the same as Hajime's, plus 10 arts, and if it's attached on Iroha, plus 20 HP. It's better in the case of Iroha because she's a very tanky unit to begin with. 120 HP debut, 140 HP there's Taunt, 220 HP Buzz, and then there's also her old Buzz, which was 250 HP. So that's very good. This card makes Iroha very, very annoying to kill. And then lastly, we have a second, which is Bloom Effect. Heal 30 HP from one of your Holomems with Holo X. In this case, it's most likely just gonna heal Iroha. It's 180 HP character, not that great, but I guess with the mascot, it's 200. And then the second skill, it's for three cheers. When you have 5 or more cheers on the stage, gets plus 50 arts. It hits a total of 120, has plus 50 blue. Overall, it hits harder than some of the other start decks. Like, it probably has the best effect, I think. Still not hard enough to kind of play this deck. Like, you're gonna hit harder with Buzz Iroha with 5 cheers. So overall, this is just kind of there to have a healer, and I guess more chip damage with the energy, I guess. I don't think it's great, but for a start deck, it's alright. And then now we have the HoloX debuts. We have Koyori, whose collab effect is if your center is HoloX and you have 5 or less cards, draw a card. Exactly the same as Ririka's effect. She's 70 HP, hits 10. I think Ririka is also the same effect, if I'm not wrong. Let me check. As in, I think Ririka hits for 20 for 1 cheer, while Koyori only hits for 10. Interesting. But same effect, same good card. So Koyori will be possibly used, and when Koyori finally gets her own deck and Ririka gets her own deck, they will definitely be run. So do keep an eye out on those cards. Next we have Louis, who has this ability for 1 cheer, 20 damage. Arts, you may return 1 debut Holoman with HoloX from your archive to your hand. So it's weird because to have a debut in your archive meant you probably discarded 1, and you won't really discard that early, and you're attacking with a debut that only does 20 and I say 80 HP. So you can fetch something like Koyori back, but Koyori needs to die by the time it gets later on in the game. This card has next to no value because you can always just find another debut. And then we have Lapras, who is now confirmed purple, along with Koyori confirmed white. Oh yeah, we should talk about the fact that Raden is confirmed green, Ririka is confirmed red. So far all under expectations. Yeah, no real surprise color right there. Right, so Lapras' ability is a bit questionable. Some people say it's broken, some people think it's horrible. I personally think it's very bad, or rather it's too niche to say it's a good card. So what does Lapras do? In the collect position only, when you used your SP skill during your main step this turn, she gets plus 50 arts. So she's a 60 HP that has a 1 cheer attack that does 80 damage. If you use your SP skill, and if she's in the collect position. Why this is bad is there's a couple of reasons. Lapras is unbloomable because you have to stay on this specific debut to get the effect. You have to use your SP skill on that turn that you want to use Lapras, assuming you didn't use it for the rest of the turn or for the rest of the game. And it needs to be a SP skill that is also main step only. So something like Shion, where her damage SP skill only activates when a center Holomem attacks. That will not work on Lapras. And stuff like Suisei does not work either because those are during the performance step. So yeah, Lapras requires a main step SP skill. And then next, she needs to do more damage. She needs to be a better choice than having something like a first Iroha up in the collab, maybe another first Buzz in the collab, something that can do more damage. Lapras needs to beat that damage as well as not cause you to lose the game because she only has 60 health. So overall, she's way too niche. Way too niche. You're not gonna use her turn 1 either, because that means you are either running a start deck Oshi, in which case, congrats, you are nerfing yourself. and you need to find the Lapless as well. And yeah, it's not that great. And you can't even kill anything at 80 damage. You can kill Polka, but that's like kind of it. Yeah, so overall, yeah, Holo X has all the cards you've seen, all the staples. Holo X Gravity. Yeah, overall, Iroha, pretty good deck by herself. Then now we can talk about the new color with Flare, introducing yellow's mechanics to us. Until now, I still don't know what yellow kind of does, but maybe we will find out as more reviews come in. So, what does Flare do? The Oshi skill for 2 Holo Power plus 20 to yellow center. No surprise there, that's a start deck Oshi. Now, SP skill for 1 Holo Power once per game. Swap your center with one of your back Holomems, and that new Holomem that you switched in heals 30. Which is interesting. It's a free Baton Pass, and you heal the Baton Pass character. Interesting is all I can say. It's not good. It's not like you can't get a free Baton Pass. And I guess if you have very high Baton Pass costs and you got swapped in, and like yeah, it's there. So we can talk about her debut vanilla, which is a good 110 HP, as 1 cheer 20 attack and a very weird 3 cheer 60 attack. Why you have 3 cheers and are still on a debut, or why you have 3 cheers attached to a debut, I have no clue. Maybe you just have an overflow of cheers and you don't have a proper board and you just have Flare left. Maybe rigged. I guess you can hit for 60. Interesting. That's all. There's also Flare is a new collab debut with the collab skill. When you have 5 or less Holomem on your stage, reveal 1 debut Polka, Noel, Miko, or Suisei from your deck and put it on stage. So this is obviously referencing to Shiraken, and she immediately has synergy with those 4 cards, and it has the same effect as Pasocon or the PC, which such as a debut and you have to play on stage. Flare does the exact same, except it can only be Polka, Noel, Miko, or Suisei. Very good card. Very good card. Is 50 HP but can be bloomed over, so that 50 HP doesn't really matter, and it can be bloomed. There are ways to get around this, and I'll talk about it soon as we go on to our next cards. This is the 3rd debut, 100 HP, one yellow cheer for 30 base, and then the skill is when you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent gets plus 10 arts. So it basically has 40 if you have lesser cards than your opponent, which is unlikely because I guess if you are going second, you can't really use this because it's the turn you can play, you're limited to draw more cards than your opponent. So this is not gonna really work on second, I guess, unless you break. Going first, I guess you get to get this effect off if you split your cheers. So okay card, just hits 40. It could just be a first bloom that hits 40, and that's not very rare. Or it could even be this next card over here, which is a first vanilla. 1 cheer for 30, 2 cheers for 50. 10 damage lesser than the good first vanillas, but 10 HP more, so it's very fair trade. Has a Baton Pass cost of 2 though, which is interesting, which I guess now you can see the point of why her SP skill exists. And then we have her next first bloom effect, with the effect of revealing 1 elf friend or her fan, this card over here, from your deck and add it to your hand. So it's a fan searcher. It only searches elf friend, unfortunately. And what elf friend's effect is basically plus 10 HP. It's not a lot. It's kind of it's like the most standard fan effect they could give, which is plus 10 HP. But she can search it, and there will be variants where people have already started to make flare polka because you can search the fans out. And yeah, it's the interesting card. It's not great by itself. Oh yeah, it also has a second effect. When you have 3 or less life, for 1 cheer 30 base, she gets plus 30 arts. So if you have 3 or less life, she's a 1 cheer attacker that does 60, which is very cool. And it's useful for stuff like Flare Polka, I guess, if you just need that 60 damage somehow. And next we have her first idol, which is very, very interesting. Yes, the bloom effect of whenever you bloom it while it's in the back position, so you must bloom this card at the back. You may swap position of your collab Holomem with 70 or less remaining HP and this Holomem. So cards like this flare will be able to swap if this flare has taken 100 damage and has left 70 HP. You can swap that as well. So you can gain a lot of possibilities with this card. You can essentially get a free collab in. You can collab this card, search out your debuts, and then bloom this flare, and then swap it back. Swap this debut back, and then this flare is now in front. And now you don't have the risk of losing this 50 HP debut, which is quite huge. And this flare has 150 HP, which is really tanky for a first idol, and has a 2 cheer for 40 damage, but you're not planning to use her as an attacker, you're kind of using her as a tanker. So overall, I think very good card in the context of the deck, and a lot of possibilities as well. Yeah. And what I have to say about Buzz, unfortunately, is that it's very bad. For 250 HP, 2 cheers, hits for 50, with the effect of when she attacks, take 1 elf friend from your archive, add it to your hand. That is really, really weak. I guess in the context of a tanky deck, it's fine because maybe you have like 2 or 3 elf friends on the Buzz and she has 280 HP. But the fact that she only does 50 damage for Buzz is very bad, and with not a very good effect to just take an elf friend, which is plus 10 HP. Yeah, it's not great at all. It also has a Baton Pass cost of 2. Yeah, so you gotta swap that. Flare Idol as well has 2 Baton Pass, so that's something to keep note as well. And then lastly we have Flare Second, which has an interesting skill. Gift. And while she's in the center, she will take 10 less damage from everything. So if let's say if your opponent collabs Owl collab debut, which on collab deal 10 damage to your opponent's center or back, Flare will take no damage at all. Stuff like X, where the user takes 10 damage after they attack, Flare will not take any damage at all. So it's a really interesting effect, but whether you'll see play is questionable. But all we can tell is Flare will definitely use X because it's just a free plus 20 damage tool now. And her attacking effect is 3 cheers. When you have 3 or less life, gets plus 70 damage. So it has a base damage of 70, so she will hit for 140, which is quite high, but at the same time you need to have 3 or less life, so it's kinda only good when you're starting to lose. So it's fine. There's plus 50 rate, not really that relevant, it still can't one-shot most rates, but it's fine, very fine. Nothing more I can say about that because it's a start deck. It's a start deck second. Yeah. Then we have new debuts for all the existing characters except Miko. Miko is new. For Noelle, she has the collab effect of this turn, your center Holomem plus 10 arts, which is very exact same as Hajime. They're both 70 HP if I'm not wrong. Or is Hajime 60? Let me check. Hajime's is 60, so Noelle is just 10 HP more. But also does only 10 damage less, but this kind of effects is kind of irrelevant, and it matters more on the HP of your debut at that point. For Miko, she has the collab effect, deal 10 special damage to opponent's center. Same thing, it's a rate thing, but not really great. It's fine. 60 HP is not good. Will probably be used in Miko's own deck, but I don't see any play here. Polka, they specifically nerfed Polka from being used in her own deck. So it has the collab effect when your Holomem center is flare. If you have fewer cards in hand than your opponent, draw one card. So they specifically put that your Holomem center has to be flare. It can't be Polka. So you can't use it in Polka decks, unfortunately. Unless it's like flare Polka, but even then you wouldn't want flare in your center, so it's not great. In the context of this deck, it's great, I guess. But it's 50 HP and 20 attack, so it's fine. Same for Suisei. Collab effect, when your center Holomem is flare, you can send one cheer from your archive to another Holomem other than this Suisei card that use the skill. Which is also, they specifically put flare center, so Suisei can't use this for her own deck. Suisei would love this effect for her own deck, but else it is ramp for flare because you get to take one from archive, so that's good. And then we have Shiraken, top 4 searcher, and then Elfren, Nodoka, Mane, sub PC, PC. So overall the start decks are fine. They're not great, they're not gonna change the meta or anything. There are a few interesting cards here and there, like Laplas, Tools, Flares First, Flares Oshi. What does it tell about yellow? Hajime is not it, unfortunately. So overall, I will tell you guys which 3 start decks, like 3 categories of start decks, because I feel there is a reason to get either of these start decks. In terms of value, Hajime's start deck is the best because you get 4 Nodoka, 2 Mane. Okay, so every start deck in this set gets 4 Nodoka, 2 Mane, and 2 PC. So now we have to look at the other generics. They do have exclusive generics. Flare gets 2 sub PC. Iroha gets 2 custom PC. And Hajime gets 2 Tekidane. So because Teki is super useful, used in almost every deck, it has to be Tekidane, which means in terms of buying generics, Hajime's deck is the best. You're gonna get your most value. If you don't care about the Hajime deck, I guess it's the best value. Yeah, so that's pretty much the only reason I will buy it, unless you're a Regalos fan. Of course, you would buy it regardless. But Hajime's deck will give you the most bang for your buck. Next, we have Iroha's deck, who I think is the best starter deck out of the 3 in terms of power level. Like, if these 3 decks were to fight a tournament, I think Iroha would win. Just because she feels the most complete. She has heal, she has draw, she has tankiness, she has very good tools and mascot. Basically a nerfed Upal, basically a nerfed Tatang, but nerfed versions of good cards are still good cards, I guess. And Bodyguard Iroha has been good, and she's just very tanky. So I think it is the best standalone deck. So yeah, consider Iroha if you want a strong starter deck off the go. I wouldn't say strong, but it's easy to branch off as well. You can branch off to Suisei, maybe Iroha with her own deck with first buzz. You just need her booster set 1 buzz, and it could be a very strong deck. Yeah, so Iroha is quite strong. And of course, there's Flare, who you would buy because you get 20 yellow cheers, which you might not necessarily need if you open a lot of booster boxes. But of course, if you don't, 20 yellow cheers off the start, so you can play your yellow decks in set 3 immediately is good. And Flare as well has some uses already in decks like Polka. With this being able to search Polka debut, this being able to search Fan. Yeah. Flare has a uses. If you play Rainy as well, you get your 6 color. Yeah. Overall, I think all the decks are quite. They have their reasons to get them. They are not strong, but they are all fine. They have some interesting effects, some not so interesting effects. But overall, what do you guys think of the start decks? Yeah, let me know. Which start deck are you getting? And soon we'll cover the booster set reviews, and I hope you guys will keep an eye out for that one. It's gonna be really interesting. I can feel it. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.